Hi there, I'm Mike, and today I'll be teaching you all about GitHub. GitHub is a free and easy to use cloud version of Git. So essentially, Git is the system that GitHub utilizes. That's the difference between GitHub and Git. To use Git, you need to either install it on a local network or a local machine, or you can utilize a free service like GitHub, which gives you free and cloud-based version control, which is super nice and super convenient. All right, so once you log into GitHub, you'll see a page just like this. You can see on the left we've got repositories, and then on the top right we've got our profile. You can change your profile, and it's kind of like a social media thing where you can have like a profile picture and a bio and stuff. But for now, we'll focus on this repositories part. This is essentially all of our projects that we have. So you can see I've got a few projects, but for the purpose of this video, I'll make a new one. So this project, they call projects repositories on GitHub. That's a term that you're going to be quite familiar with soon enough. So first thing that you need to do is name this repository. We'll call this test video. Okay, and then you can add a description if you want. This is super useful for if you're sharing your project with either the public or a group of people. We won't do this because this is just a video. And you can see that you actually have an option to make a public or private repository, which is very nice to keep your code safe and secret if you're working on something special. And then we're given the option to initialize this repository with. What this means is essentially when you create your folder, it'll automatically create these files for you, if you please. The first one that it offers is a README file. That is super useful because README files are displayed on the front page of a GitHub page. If you've ever been on GitHub, and you see a big project with a long description with images and explanations, that is a README file. And those are very nice to have if you're making a public GitHub project. But we won't do that for this project. You can also add a .gitignore file. This essentially allows you to ignore certain files when you're pushing and deploying to Git. This can be useful for like invisible files or compiling files like .class files in Java if you're working with .java files. But that's kind of outside the scope of this video, and we don't need to worry about that. And lastly is you can add a license if you so please. If you're using like a commercial license or common license, I don't know. I don't worry about this because I'm not professional, but you can add that if you so please. We won't use any of these. We'll just create this repository. And you'll see it'll give us this page saying that our repository is empty and giving us a link. This link will be needed to clone this repository onto our machine so that we can start using it and pushing our data back onto the GitHub cloud. So before we do that, we need to install Git. To do that on our machine, I'm just going to look up Git. And you'll see this first link. You'll see this page here. Since I'm on Windows, I'll download it for Windows. There are other options down there. And then once this download opens, I will open it. Okay, so this is what you'll see. I'm not going to read through this license, and I'm just going to... Oh, I already have Git installed. I'll just install over it. I'm going to use all the recommended settings for this. This installer gives you a lot of options, and if you are particularly picky about how you want your program installed, you can read through all of these. But I just use all the default options whenever I use Git. I'm just going to click on through. This won't install anything like other programs install, like toolbars to your browsers and like adware and stuff. This is a reputable download. I've never had any problems personally. Okay, we're good to not read anything or launch anything. We're not going to launch it because you can actually launch it by right-clicking on the folder that you want to use Git and then using git bash here. And then this will open up a git bash file, which is super convenient. The way this works is if you've never used a terminal before, it's essentially opening up a folder and then it allows you to run commands there. So you can see we're on our desktop right now because I opened Git on the desktop. But we can move around by doing cd and then a ... to go backwards, or a cd / and then whatever I want to go to. So I want to go back to my desktop. And you can see it moved me back to the desktop. You can see it with the yellow text there where we are. So to clone our repository, we use the command git clone. And then we need to paste in the link from GitHub. By the way, to paste with git bash, you need to say shift insert. the insert key above the delete key on the right of your keyboard. So we've pasted in our repository, and then it will start cloning. And then typically it will pop up with a GitHub login page where it asks you to log in with GitHub. Just go ahead and do that. It'll open it up in your browser. It'll be super convenient. And then potentially after that, some step in the thing, it will ask for your email, and it'll give you a command, and then it'll just tell you where to put your email in. Just copy that command and put your email in there, and you'll be good. But it looks like we're all good to go. So we have cloned this repository onto our desktop. Let's see if we can find test video on our desktop. It might be on my second monitor over here. Yes, there it is. So it just makes a folder, and it'll have the same name as your Git repository. And so if we go into here, we'll be able to see this .git folder because I have the setting that lets me see invisible folders. There's just an invisible folder that kind of is the magic behind Git. It's got stuff in it. Don't mess with it. It's invisible for a reason, I'm sure. So what you want to do is now bring this Git bash to this folder. So I'm going to cd into this test video folder by doing cd./test video. See if I can spell. There we go. So now I've gone into this test video folder, and you'll see this new teal text that says master. That means it's the master branch. You can have different sections of repositories with GitHub. Don't worry about it too much, but just the fact that you see this text here means that you're in the right folder for Git. Another way we could have done that instead of CDing is to just right click and then open Git bash here. And then you'll see that has the same effect. Okay, so let's add a couple of files in here and try and push it up to the cloud. Once I add these files, you'll see that GitHub doesn't automatically know. It doesn't automatically sync. You need to tell it when to sync. And to do that is a 2 to 3 step process. So if you've made new files, the first thing you need to do, oops, that's a command prompt, not git bash. There we go. Is you need to add those files to the repository. You do that by simply typing git add. And then you need to say the name of the file. I've made 3 files, and it would be such a pain to type all of these. So easily enough, you can just do -all. And then it will add all the files to the repository. Now, because we've added the files to the repository, we need to save all of our changes. We do that by committing our changes, is the lingo. So that is git commit. And what we do is we add a message. And the reason we do this is because it's nice to keep up with what the changes are and what they mean with each version, so you can understand if you need to roll back the version change, which is why we use GitHub in the first place for version control. We need to know what each change was. And also it'll complain if we don't. So let's add a message. We'll call this first commit. And you'll see it successfully did that. And if we check our GitHub, it's still not going to be there because there's one more step that we have to do. We've now committed all of our changes and saved it, but we haven't uploaded it. And to do that, all we do is git push. So it's this 3-step process. You need to add all your files, you need to commit your files, and then you need to upload them with the git push. So it's just 3 commands to remember for setting up add, commit, and then push. And it's saying that it successfully did it. And if we check here, you'll see all 3 of our text documents are in there. Okay, so let's say that someone made a change outside of our computer, and we wanted to download that to our computer. To simulate this, I'll just press this add a readme button and just kind of type in here a little bit. If I do that, and then save, oops. How do I save this? Oh, there we go. Create readme. I'll commit this really quick. And then you can see the README is on the repository, but it won't have automatically downloaded to our computer. To download all the files that we haven't changed, we want to use the command pull. So it's kind of push to upload and pull to download. So we're going to say git pull. And if we check our folder, bam, there is README. You'll see that it will have some sort of success message, 1 file changed. It'll explain all the file changes that were downloaded. And then we're good to go. And that allows for a really seamless workflow with that team. One thing that you want to be sure to do is as you're using GitHub, you want to push your changes and pull pretty much every hour that you're working so that you can stay up to date with the source directory and minimize the amount of collisions you have between changing the same line of code or the same file. Now, an easier way to do this, other than git bash, because git bash can be kind of a pain to have open in the background, and even memorizing the commands is kind of annoying, is if you open a Git repository in Visual Studio Code. So we'll open up this test video folder in VS Code. Just do that. You'll see if you go to this source control branch thingy here, you can actually do everything that you do in the git bash here. So you'll see we can write our message, and then there's this check mark, which is the same as the commit command. And then under this ... you can see we have pull, push, clone, and all the other commands that you could be potentially using. Obviously, this is a simple guide and only explains really the stuff you need to get started, but there's more to Git, including branches. You can have separate branches if you have a main branch and like a test branch. You can use the checkout command to mess with that. But for now, I'll just show you how to do the commands that we know. So let's say we add a file. We'll call this index.html, just because I'm in VS Code and that's kind of a habit of mine. And we'll just do a quick little HTML setup here. And now if we go over here, you will see that it shows our changes. You'll be able to visually see the changes, which is really nice. It goes green, whatever's new. If I were to want to commit this, I would just type in a message. So we'll say added HTML file. And then I'll check this green check mark. It'll ask us if we want to stage the changes. This is similar to the add function. I'm just going to go ahead and say yes because I want to commit anyway. And then you'll see it commits. And then to upload it, we need to remember to go to the ... and press push. Now that loads. And then you'll see the loading bar has gone away. And if we check our GitHub, you'll see that now we have index.html. So now you have a basic understanding of Git and GitHub, and you're ready to make your first repository/project. If this video helped you out, please do like, comment, or subscribe. It really helps me out. And have a great day. Thank you.